Hey everyone, and welcome to another dividend investing portfolio update. Today, we're going to be taking a look at my portfolio, nicely titled Dividend Dentist. We're going to be seeing how much we made in dividend income for this last week, as well as an update on my dividend spreadsheet, which I do give away for free. So make sure you stick around because I'm going to show you guys what that looks like and some of the cool new updates that we did. We're also going to be looking at some dividend increase that has happened over this last week since we got some new updates. I'm a big fan of dividend increases. Now, before we get started, just want to let you guys know that this episode is brought to you guys by Earnest. If you're somebody who needs to refinance their student loans, they actually help you refinance entirely for free. So it doesn't cost you anything, but it can lower your interest, which means you can have extra money to invest more into the stock market. So check out the link down below. This is the page you will see here. It takes about 2 minutes to get an idea of what your new rate can be, and hopefully that will save you some money. But let's go ahead and kind of just jump into this and let's talk about where our portfolio is currently standing. So as you can see, like I said, we are on my Dividend Dentist portfolio. And if you are new to the video here today, this is a portfolio I'm trying to build up to have a dividend income on average about $1,000 a month. So that's kind of the goal here, but we have some growth options as well that we're trying to accomplish. So current value, you can see over here, this is going to be $16,208.55. So that is in our all-time. We've, of course, had a really nice overall gain. This is money-weighted return. For anybody that doesn't know that, that's when you maybe sold something off in the portfolio but kept the money in there. If you're curious about my just unrealized gains, that's about $1,778.98. So we're doing pretty good across the board here. We are looking really good as far as where we're kind of positioning ourselves, where we want to be, and how we want to do. So just over the last day, which was Friday, I think it was the 13th. Yeah, Friday the 13th. We actually had a nice gain of $216, which was fantastic. That last week, we had a total gain of $326. I don't worry about the percentage because of the money weighted return. I just worry and focus about the gains on this aspect of it. Of course, there's other things that come along with it as well that we're going to want to look into. Speaking of which, I'm also going to show you guys some of my buys that I'm going to be having coming up in this next week. I'm doing actually a bigger deposit than I normally do, so make sure you stick around so you can see how much that is going to be. So you can see here, I currently have a cash balance of $8.57. I wish it was $800, but all of that pretty much has come from my dividends that were paid out just over the last day or two. So first, let's go ahead and take a look at that, and then I'm going to show you guys that spreadsheet I was telling you about that I did an update for, which if you've gotten the old one, you can update to the new one, or if you've never gotten it before, you're going to be able to update as well. So let's go ahead and we're going to be in our activities feed here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to show just dividends only. So this is currently just showing you what we have earned so far in dividends. Now we are in the month of November as of recording, keeping in mind, obviously, as we keep going through, we're going to show you more. So we already talked about AT&T paying us out $13.10. I do wish that that M1 Finance, which is the platform, by the way, that I'm using, I wish they did actually show you how many shares you had when you purchased. So if I go in here, it doesn't tell me how many shares I owned at the time. Obviously, I could figure it out if I wanted to, but it'd be nice to tell them, when the actual date was for the payout, how many shares I had at that given time, just because obviously you can buy stocks beyond the payout date, just so that, or not even the payout date. I keep saying payout date, but what I actually meant was, let me go back here to Seeking Alpha. It was the record date. That's what I was trying to think of. So, once you go past the record date, obviously, like this one, for example, was November 9th and the payout date was the 12th. So if you bought anything on the, technically from here with the ex-dividend date, if you bought anything from the 6th all the way to the 12th, you wouldn't get any of that dividend payout because of the ex-dividend date. So for me personally, it's one of those things where it would just be nice to know. It's nothing important, of course, but it's just a little extra feature that would be nice. Which, by the way, if you guys are interested in checking out M1 Finance, I will have that link in the show notes down below. You guys can check that out as well. That also does help support out the channel as well. So we talked about AT&T, $13.10, which was nice. And then on the 12th, we actually got paid out from Apple for a total of $3.02. So obviously that's not a ton, but it is a lot more than we've gotten in the past as we keep building up our portfolio here. And then on the 13th, we got paid out 3 different times, as you can see right over here. So the first one is with Ally Financial at $2.30, which is really solid. And then you can see here Costco, we have almost a full share of Costco. So we got paid out 58 cents. Now Costco has a very low dividend yield, but they do have amazing dividend increases year over year, as well as some special dividends that they've given out in the past. And those to me are really important to be able to build up the opportunity to have over $1,000 a month in dividend income without having to put so much money in all myself. And then the last on the 13th of November was Realty Income. This is the only monthly dividend paying stock that I currently own. And you can see here, I earned a total of $2.65. So if we add up what we've made total here, I'm going to go to my spreadsheet right now. So this is my current spreadsheet, and you're going to see here, right over here on the side. So November of 2020 thus far, and I still got more dividends to come out, I've earned $21.65. So of course, if you look at November of 2019, we've far outseeded that. I can't speak today, apparently. Outseeded that. But if we look at the similar month in the last quarter, we actually earned 21.81 in the middle of the last quarter. So right now, we're already on track to pass up what we made in August of 2020. And the reason I compare those two is because most of the companies we have pay out quarterly. So if you do that, you always kind of want to compare them to those quarters, because it makes it easier than comparing it to, say, last month or the month prior to that, because different companies are going to be paying it at different times. And it's just all a matter of making sure we try to keep things as equal as possible when it comes to rating these. So the fact that, yeah, we're already surpassing August and we're only halfway through the month and we got a few more payouts to go, this is looking to be a really solid month. I don't know if we're going to pass September's $30 total, but if you think we will, let me know in the comments down below if you think we're going to pass up the $30. I'll show you the different companies that are left to pay out for the month, because that is always important to know too. But I did mention that I actually updated this spreadsheet. So I don't actually have a photo of what the old one looked like. I quite literally just set this up right before I got onto this, recording, and I figured it was best to, get this all ready to go. So if you want to get this entirely for free, I will also have that in the show notes down below, aside from the, the referrals that I have over there. This one is entirely free. You just sign up through the email, you'll get this, and then you're good to go. That's it. I'm not selling anything on this. This is entirely free to get. Free, I guess. So you can see right over here, there are a couple different differences to this overall thing. So I switched up my monthly dividends, so it's a little easier to see here all together. So you can see each month, and I've color coordinated them, of course. Then we have our quarterly dividends. Nothing has changed here, so we could just see in comparison from one quarter to the next, going year after year. And then we added this new section over here called annual dividends. So right over here, you can see, how much we made in 2019 versus so far how much we've made in 2020. And then we're going to keep going on for 2021, 2022, and 2023. So that's going to just keep growing. Obviously, what we made in 2019 was way less. So that bar is going to continue to get skewed over as we keep on investing. Now, these two things on the side right over here, let me clear up everything else here. So these two things right over here, these are brand new. I'm kind of putting them in like a little cloud thing here. So these things are brand new. I really do like them. I think they're exciting. Like I said, one of my big goals is to make sure that we have an average of over $1,000 a month coming in dividends. Now, I say average because, like we talked about, some companies are going to pay out more or less during certain months because I have a certain amount that pay out typically in, the first month of the new quarter or the second or the third. So this is an average between everything else total for the whole year. So it's a little skewed off because I just take all the months that I take my total that I've made for 2020. And then I already divided by 12, so December's already counted in here. So it'll definitely tick up as we go through the total here. So right now we are on average for the whole year of 2020 is $10.87. And then so far with M1 Finance as a total across the board from 2019 to 2020 so far, we've earned $138.94, which is really, really cool. I'm very excited about those, which if you decide to get this entirely for free, underneath them, they're actually the little things here, so you can actually edit them and switch it out for 2021 and so forth, which is really, really cool too. I personally like that. I'm always excited about changing some stuff up, getting a little bit of a refresher there, and getting to see how we're doing thus far. So pretty cool when you do that right there. Of course, if I wanted to, I can even go in here and change this up from 12 months to 11 months, because that's how many months we've been in so far for 2020. So this right here, if we did that, would actually be $11.86 in total for average between the last 11 months so far in the year. So that is pretty cool. I might actually keep it that way too. So I might have to update the download. So you guys should be good by the time you see this video on that part. Now, I did also talk about the fact that I do have a dividend increase coming through, as well as a couple other companies that are going to be paying out for the rest of November. So I'm here on seekingalpha.com. This is what I love to use to gather information, to gather data for all my stuff. So right over here where you see my portfolio, there's an option that I have currently where it says M1 Portfolio. You can create new portfolios based off of whatever platform you're using. If you got multiple platforms, you can do it multiple times. Now, the way I have it is I have added every single company that I have on my M1 Finance account. So that way I can get some really good information in a very quick window, seeing it across the board. So first and foremost here, they tell me like the 52-week range, which is really great. So I can kind of get an idea of maybe the companies that are not doing so hot versus the ones that are maybe constantly hitting their 52-week highs, and I might want to be backing up from them a little bit. But what I do really like too is they have a little section up here called dividends, which is obviously what we're excited about. So if I click on here, it still has everything alphabetically, but I can switch it to X Dividend Date, which, in case you guys don't know what this is, X Dividend Date is essentially letting you know that from that date forward, nobody that's buying any more stocks in that company can get dividends for the new portions of the stocks that they are buying. So if you already own, like, let's say one stock of ABBV here, one stock before the 14th, you'll get the dividend. But if you try to buy another stock on the 14th or the 15th of that year or that date, then you will not get those extra dividends. So just kind of something to keep in mind. This is really useful for somebody like myself, where if I have a little bit of money, I tend to want to maybe put a little bit of that money towards the stocks that are getting close to X dividend date, that are maybe still of a valuable purchase for me. So as an example, when I'm recording this, I actually still have the opportunity to buy into Aflac, DFS, Microsoft, because all three of those are very close to having their ex-dividend date, but I would still be able to buy on the 16th of November if I so chose to, so that way I can get the dividend payout when they do happen, which is the next line over. So these are the dividend payouts. Now, I can choose to do that if I see the value there. If maybe they're on their 52-week high, I might not do that because I might have my money working for me in other areas, but just an option. So if I actually go to switch over to the payout dates from up here, I can scroll down and see what is left in November. So like I said, I don't know if I'm going to get over $30 this month. It would be nice. But we can see here we still have to get paid out from P&G, which will happen actually this next day of this recording. Same thing with Hasbro, also on the 16th. And I will be getting paid from Starbucks on the 27th of this month as well. So we got 3 more dividends to get paid out before we get our full total for the month of November. And then the nice thing is on the 1st of December, we'll actually have an additional 3 that are coming in. So even though November is going to end up with 3, right at the beginning of the next month, we'll have some really nice dividends flowing in as well, which, by the way, of course, I am reinvesting all of that back into the portfolio, making sure we can compound that money. Because in my previous video, we actually did a thing where we kind of put some averages together to try to see where this portfolio is going to go. And if we can muster up about $20,000 every single year, which I know it sounds like a lot, and I'll show you here, how that's going to differ from, maybe something where you're thinking like 20,000 is a lot. But if I can do $20,000 a year, in about 20 years, I'll be making well over $20,000 in just dividend payouts every single month, which would be insane. insane. Like right now, my goal is 1,000, but in 20 years, if I keep up with 20,000, I can do that. But if you look here, just to give an example for anybody that is just getting started and was like, whoa, 20,000 seems outlandish, or even your 16,000 seems out of reach. I started off with this portfolio technically on the 23rd of January with about $100. $100 is what I had. And you can see here, just over the first couple of months, I was barely moving the needle, to say the least, when it came to putting money in. I was not nervous, but I was trying to figure things out. I was trying to figure out the portfolio, how I wanted everything to stack up, and where I truly wanted to be, long term. So it took a little while, but as I kept moving forward, obviously the market also kind of pushed me into the idea of like, hey, let's keep on investing. And then I kept doing it, and now it's just become a natural thing for me to be investing and putting money in to this portfolio time and time again, because it's just showing that I am getting results from my method and what I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to achieve future goals for myself and my family. So if you're somebody who's like a little worried about the idea of, trying to get $20,000 a year into your portfolio, have no fear. Getting started with $100, which is the minimum for M1 Finance, will get you started. You start slow, do that $10 a month, and you'll see some really cool improvements over time as you continue to get more comfortable with this whole thing. Now, what we're going to do is also go through this whole process of showing you guys those dividend increases. So there's not a lot this month for dividend increases. The last one that I had that got announced, I believe, was ADP. And then I don't know if I talked about AbbVie in the last one. So I'm going to talk about both of these companies. So these two companies, I own it in my portfolio, and they recently did dividend increases, which, if you're not familiar with that, it's when a company essentially pays you more out on your dividends that you already essentially hold the shares to. So it's effectively like a free raise. And that's one of my favorite things that almost nobody talks about on the platform. So ADP currently typically does, on average over the last 5 years, a 13.22% increase, which is phenomenal. That's a lot of money getting added to your portfolio. But unfortunately, the newest news that they came out with was the fact that they were only increasing it by 2.2%, which is not a lot. It is barely keeping up with inflation. Sometimes, companies want to be a little bit more conservative, especially during a time like 2020 where, they might not know exactly what's going to happen in the near future. So they might be just, like I said, a little conservative. So before I was getting paid 91 cents a share, and now with the new increase, I'm going to be getting paid 93 cents a share. So about 2 cents more. Again, it is not a lot, but if we scroll down here, we can see just last year, with obviously things going pretty well, they actually had an increase of 15.2%. Can you imagine getting a raise of 15.2% for doing nothing more than what you were already doing? So before, I was getting 79 cents a share, and then after that I jumped up to 91 cents a share. So huge increase in that position. And even though that is still pennies, honestly, it is still adding up, still kind of compounding and really growing. So I'll show you here in my industries. We go to my ADP right over here. So I don't own a lot of shares. I own 2.52%. So let's bring out the calculator here. So obviously 2.52766 shares is what I have. So we're getting an increase of 2 cents a share. So if we do this, we're going to get an extra nickel effectively every single quarter. And then we times this by 4 because we get paid out 4 times. We make now an extra 20 cents a year on this fund. Again, not a lot of money. First off, I don't have a lot of shares in this company or a big position in it in my overall portfolio, just because it's a smaller portion overall. But still, 20 cents more every single year for having done nothing more. Now, the year prior to that, because of that larger increase, because that was from what? We said it was from 79 cents to, 91 cents right there. That's 12 cents difference, right? So that would have been an even bigger change here if that had the same effect this year. So let's say it was that same 12%. Let's go back here. Just showing you examples so you guys can see kind of the thought process, honestly, that goes through my mind when kind of coming up with, what's going on in my portfolio and how things are working. So let's say we did get that 12 cents increase like we did the year prior. That would have been 30 cents a quarter. We would have gotten that. Times that by 4, we would have made an extra $1.21 every single year for having done nothing more And that's on top of the dividends we were already going to be getting paid. So that's not the amount of dividends, that's the amount of just the increase percentage that we got back in 2019. Obviously, the 2021 was only a 20-cent increase overall for the year, but I'm still getting all the rest of the dividends as well too. So hopefully next year we will see a better increase, maybe even something throughout the year, because most companies do an increase once a year when it comes to their dividends. Sometimes they might do additional ones if the company feels like it's worth it. If we go back to their scorecard, we can see that their current dividend yield is 2.17% and their payout is 66.42%, which is honestly not bad. We don't want it to be hitting well over 70 because that's going to be too much. Ideally, we want this under 60%. So, they might consider not doing any additional increases until next year. And if that's the case, that's fine, as long as we hopefully get back to somewhat of a regular, 5-year average, which we saw here, which was at 13.22%. Now, like I said, I think AbbVie I mentioned in a previous video with the dividend increase, but we'll go into this anyways, just to kind of show you guys. So currently they are having a dividend yield of 5.25%, which is already great, honestly. Like, that's a fantastic dividend yield. Always be cautious though, just because this number is really high, that might be, really interesting for somebody to want to do that. 7, 8, even 10% sounds really great, but you always want to be a little cautious when you see anything above 4%, to be honest. But the nice thing with this company, with AbbVie, their payout ratio is well below 60 to 70%, which is fantastic. That's what we want to see. And then their 5-year growth average is 20.86%. So that's huge. That's a really great increase. So if we go to the dividend news here, and we can see here that their most recent one from October, and I'm pretty sure we talked about it, but I'm going to go over this again, is 10.2% increase. Talk about having a nice increase in your pay if that was the case, right? If we own thousands of shares of this company, that's huge. That's a lot of money coming in. So we were getting paid $1.18 a share, and now we're jumping up to $1.30 a share. So if we bring that in here, so 130 minus 118, so that's 12 cents. I just didn't want to do the math for some reason. I'm going to be honest. So let's go ahead and go back into this portfolio. And we're going to go into our health sector and see how many shares we have. Now, keep in mind too, my health sector is also a very low percentage of my overall pie, or portfolio, I should say. So I don't have a ton of shares here as well. I got just the 3.279 shares. Now, I'm a big believer, just like I talked about with getting started on the portfolio, doing little bits of, deposits every single week, every single month that you can will have a huge impact over time. So if we see this here, so that 12-cent increase we're going to get, if we times that by the amount of shares we have, so 3.27975 shares, so that's an extra 39 cents we're going to be getting paid every single quarter, times that by 4. So now every year, on top of the dividends we were already expecting to get paid because we already bought into this company, we're going to get an extra $1.57 a year. That's a lot of money for having as much as we have right now into this portfolio. We only have 3.27 shares of this company. So to get an extra $1.57 every year is huge for having done nothing extra. I haven't contributed to this company aside from putting money into them, but that's pretty much it. So that is really cool. And it gets even fun. It gets even more exciting when you're going through this process and you have hundreds of shares of a company or thousands of shares of a company, and they have these crazy or great increases. We have companies like Microsoft and Apple who tend to also grow their dividends by higher margins as well, and having a lot of those shares can have a huge impact. Even if the dividends that they pay out are really, really small, the increases do have a huge impact for you long term. So those were all the dividend increases. Now let's take a look at some of the pending trades that I'm going to have going on here on Monday. So when you're watching this will actually have just now gone through. That's actually just the actual transfer itself. So let's go into the view details here. So I have about $308.51. So I'm putting in about 300 this week, which is $100 more than my average of 200. I try to keep it around 200. Some weeks go a little lower, some weeks I go a little higher. And then the 851 is of course the dividends themselves. So there's going to be two little pages here. You're going to see the buys and then you're going to see the estimated trades. Buys are essentially manual purchases that I put in. And then the estimated trades are everything else that M1 Finance kind of distributes across the board. So we're just going to do the estimated trades here. Anything with like a solid looking number, those are pretty much all the manual trades I did or going to have done. So out of that $300, Next Era Energy is going to get $45.95 of that. So it's the largest chunk, of course. Microsoft is right behind it, though, at $44.07. And then we have our ETF here getting a nice $29 or so, give or take. Lockheed Martin's going to get $24.40. Facebook about $23.03. Amazon about $20.79. I feel like they have some good opportunity right now for hopefully some growth in the future. I mean, I have that with all the companies I have, but I think Amazon's kind of been down over the last little while, or kind of stagnant, I should say. Costco, we can see here, this was a solid 20, so I manually did that. Same thing with Home Depot. Home Depot has kind of taken a little hit over the last week or two, so it's an opportunity for me to buy now. ADP, the one that we just talked about, that is having their dividend increase. I'm putting in $12.77. Just kind of jumping back to Seeking Alpha, we talked about the ex-dividend date right over here. So here's a great example. So right now, as of this recording, I can still be buying into this stock and getting that nice little dividend increase, as well as whatever the current yield is as well. So that's going to be added together to get me my new total. So you can see right over here, I can buy until December 9th. So that's 12/9. Here's my sloppy 12/9 here. So I can buy until the December 9th to be able to get into this dividend. Anything after the 9th, so the 10th and beyond, will not count as a dividend that gets paid out on January 1st of 2021. So I just have to be cautious with making sure that if I'm buying into the company after the 9th, is it only because maybe it's like way down or something else happened, or maybe M1 just kind of invested it itself. But I don't really have an interest in buying more into this stock if it's, on its 52-week high, or doing pretty well and I have an opportunity elsewhere in my portfolio to invest in. But with where it is right now, I decided to let it go into the ADP for $12.77 so I can get some of those extra dividends that are going to get paid out on the 1st of January. We have $12 into Aflac. We got about $11 into Tesla. Digital Realty Trust, we got $10. Johnson & Johnson, 10. Realty Income, $10 right now because they're still doing pretty well. Once they hit a certain dollar amount, I probably won't be investing as much with them. We got some good opportunities here with Ross, and then we have new residential investment, putting in about $5 on that one, just so that way we can go through the process of getting a few more shares into that company as well. So let me go back here. So that was my most recent one that's going through. I did a small one throughout the week where I bought in for $35. So I just did a few different companies like Next Era, Microsoft, Amazon, and Digital Realty Trust, just because they had some opportunity in buys. Like I said, some of them have been down for the week. If we go and let me go look at Amazon really quick so you can take a look here. So with Amazon, let's go here to the 1 week. So you can see in the last week, even Tesla had some opportunities, but Amazon had been down about 5.2%. Facebook was down about 5.42%, but you saw me doing a purchase here tomorrow to be able to get into that. Because for me personally, I like to buy more so when they are in the red, because, if Facebook, Amazon, and Tesla all get back to, where they were before this 5%, that's a 5% gain on the money that I'm putting into this account. So, that's always good for me. That's how I see opportunity for me to grow my money. Obviously, it's not the most in the world, like we talked about. I clicked on the wrong button. So if I go into here, I'm putting in $15 into Amazon, and if I get 5% back growth because they get back to where they were prior, that's still 5% on $15, and that's good for me. If I could have done 100, that would be even better because that's obviously more money for that opportunity. But I'm still going to go forth and do that just because every little bit adds up. If we go into my activities feed here, one of the things I'll do is I'm going to show you really quick what this truly means. So I own, actually I'm going to do Microsoft. So let's go ahead and show you Microsoft. So if I show you all these right here, so you can see I'm buying into Microsoft in these super, super small increments. So $10, $20, $20.09, $5. I put $5 in here, $20, $30, $9.97. I mean, this right here, $15, like that's going to like the movies or something like that. $15 here, that's like a pizza. $10, like just small increments here. $2.09 at one point. I mean, this is money that a lot of people would be spending on things that are here or there and might forget about it. But long term, obviously, this is going to have a huge impact on the opportunities for how many shares I have, how the company grows. Like if I go into here, and let me see if I can, where's my Microsoft? So if I go into Microsoft, I have 7.25 shares of Microsoft, and my average price is $201.83. I'm already up 7% on my money. But if I was waiting to buy, full shares or waiting to buy with large sums of money, I might have missed out on this 7% because I was so worried about it. But for me, buying in at $10 a piece or whatever is building up the amount of shares that I have with this company, because every time I'm buying, let me go back into the activities here. So like November 13th, when I bought into this, you can see here, obviously the average share price was $2.16, so higher than my dollar cost average, but it bought 0.046 shares. Not a ton of shares. That's about almost 5% of one share. Like that's how much that is worth, for $10 into the price point that it's at. But when I add that up with the $20 that I did a couple days prior, that was almost 10% of a share. And then if I did it with the $20 prior to that, that's again almost 10% of a share. And then if I did it with the $5 that I added, that's 0.02. So that's about 2.5% of a share. Like those things keep adding up, and you can see how it gets to a point where you own 7.25 shares of Microsoft, but get 7%, gains. Obviously, I don't have this until I sell, but if I sold this all right now, if I sold everything I have with Microsoft, I would have made $106.49. But I'm buying in small increments because it matters. Like that is what matters when it comes to getting started with investing. You're starting slow. You're just putting in the money a little bit at a time. And that's why I tell people all the time, I love M1 Finance because it allows me to do that. You start with 100 because that's the minimum, but then you just continue to keep investing. Small dollar amounts will add up over time, and you'll see that impact. Like I said, I'll have a link in the show notes down below. You guys can get started with M1 Finance. I have tons of tutorials on my True Financials channel, which is where I actually share with you guys all the tutorials and reviews on these apps and services. But if you have questions, leave them here in the comments, and I'll do my best to help answer them for you. But I also want you to keep on learning when it comes to investing, kind of seeing how somebody else does it. So check out this next video right over here to keep on going through this process. My name is Dennis, and I will see you in that next video.